I saw this pop up last night and it is absolutely insane. So, Elections BC is just going to stop looking into Surrey Guilford while there is the court application from the BC Conservative candidate from that riding to overturn the election results because of all the irregularities they found in a race where Gary Begg, the BC NDP candidate, only won by 22 votes. So Honveer Randhawa, the Conservative candidate, is bringing forward a petition to the court, a lawsuit, in order to overturn the results because, with a 22 vote margin, they have found more than 45 voter irregularities, 21 of which are all from one lodge, Argyle Lodge, in which there's a lot of evidence, affidavits, and whatnot to prove that there was voter intimidation, votes being sent in for people who are incapable of voting, and all that sort of thing. And BC Elections just like, well, we're going to stop looking into this while this very serious lawsuit is going on. I'm going to break this down for you guys today. I actually just got off the phone with Honveer Randhawa, who gave me some more details on what's going on with this. We're going to be reading the article and doing all that. But before we get into it, guys, if you want continuous updates on this story, we're probably going to be doing an interview tomorrow with Honveer. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment, do all that great stuff. It really helps us in the algorithm and helps spread news about this extremely important issue. Let's get into this news article because as I read this, it's going to make less and less sense why they are just suddenly not looking into this issue. You would assume that when there is evidence, affidavits, all that sort of thing, for a potential election integrity issue, BC Elections would be all over it. But instead, while it is most serious to collect evidence, BC Elections doesn't want to do that anymore. So here is the article from Fraser Valley Today. I'll be linking this in the description below if you want to read it for yourself. But they say Fraser Valley, Elections BC says it has suspended a review from a BC Conservative candidate who submitted a complaint after losing his Fraser Valley riding by 22 votes. This is, of course, Surrey Guilford. Maybe it's in the Fraser Valley. It felt weird that they were referring to it as Fraser Valley. They say, according to Statement Tuesday, Elections BC said it received a complaint from Surrey Guilford candidate Honveer Randhawa on January 3rd, 2025. The complaint argued there were potential violations of the Election Act in his election district during the 2024 provincial election. Roughly a week later, on January 9th, Elections BC confirmed that Randhawa's complaint was being reviewed. 4 days later, on January 13th, Randhawa submitted a petition to the Supreme Court of British Columbia seeking judicial declaration that the election of BC Surrey Guilford candidate Gary Begg was invalid. The election, the chief electoral officer and Gary Begg were named as respondents to the judicial petition. Elections BC says the allegations of Randhawa's complaint to BC Elections are essentially the same as the allegations contained in the court petition. Elections BC says it is suspending a review of Randhawa's complaint while the outcome of the petition is decided. Why? I can stop reading it right there. Why? Why are you suspending investigations into this same matter because it's in front of the court? The problem is, and Honveer has confirmed this to me in other media, he doesn't have the tools and capacity to investigate this the same way Elections BC does. In fact, he keeps writing them requests for information, and they keep ghosting him or just saying they're not going to give him anything. So he, as some random guy, and his team are supposed to just run around investigating information without any voter data, without being able to match up if somebody said they didn't vote but a mail-in ballot was sent in for them, that they can't even confirm that. They're effectively, in my mind, they're waiting for Honveer's petition to potentially get rejected so that then they'll look into it. And even if they find hundreds of ballots that are invalid, well, the court's not going to look at the same issue twice. They've already ruled on this. This is insane. This is not how anyone would expect this to go. It's also a bit sketchy because BC Elections is, of course, a corporation within the BC government. At this point, it feels like they're just protecting a government's MLA. Gary Begg only won by 22 votes. That is the thinnest of thin margins that I've seen in an election. I guess in Alberta, we've had some UCP MLAs lose by like 6 votes, but at least in BC, that is the closest margin. Honveer has already found 45 irregularities, including people who are nonverbal and unable to write their names, somehow sending in mail and ballots to a ballot station only 80 meters away, and people signing affidavits saying they were intimidated. I was told by Honveer that even BC Elections BC, went to Argyle Lodge, the place where these 21 ballots were sent in on behalf of people who are recovering from addictions and whatnot. And they have usually some capacity limits in terms of physical capacity and mental capacity. That they interviewed a couple people. They found out that this isn't just conjecture from his camp, it's real. And that's when they decided they wanted to stop looking into it. As soon as they went to Argyle Lodge, realized it's all very true and this is all clearly messed up, that these people are just signing people's names to ballots that they didn't want to fill out or forcing them to fill out the ballot that they want or they'll be kicked out, that suddenly they don't want to look into who's voting for what anymore. Absolutely insane. By the way, the lady who is the manager of Argyle Lodge is a maxed out BC NDP donor in 2023. We don't have the records for 2024 yet. I wonder if she donated to them, my goodness. It's like actually insane that this is just considered something where BC elections can just suspend it and there's not going to be major media outcry. There should be massive media outcry right now that they just don't want to look at this while it's pending. Imagine if the province of BC was suing a corporation for some amount of fraud. Maybe they poisoned a lake, who knows? And it's also a federal issue too. And the federal government is investigating, but because they have a relationship with the corporation and it's kind of like an SNC Lavalin situation, they don't want to punish them. While the province is suing them, suddenly the feds stop investigating because they don't want to provide any evidence to the issue. They don't want to give any evidence to the province when they're suing. That's effectively what's going on here. Honveer told me Elections BC says that they don't want to affect the case. You don't want to affect the case. Why? The whole point is evidence is not like negatively affecting a case. It's not ruining a case. Imagine if somebody was being tried for like a major crime and the police said, well, he's already being criminally tried. We just don't want to look for any more evidence because that would be unfair. Unfair how? You are providing more evidence to a controversial situation. More evidence helps. It's actually ridiculous. They're just going to wait for the petition to be basically timed out, then they're going to investigate? The BC Conservatives, because they're not actually part of this petition, they need to get involved, help pay court expenses if they can, help investigate themselves, because if BC Elections isn't going to do it, somebody has to, and obviously Honveer Randhawa and his team are not going to have the resources that a party or any other institution is going to have. So the guy needs assistance. He absolutely deserves it. That guy was a workhorse in the Surrey Guilford riding. That was a riding that was not on the table for anyone to win. Nobody assumed it was winnable. And that was now within 22 votes, and Gary Begg barely snuck in. It is worthwhile to do this because the BC NDP are currently ruining the province. They've broken basically every election promise right after the election. They're not even giving people the $1,000 grocery rebates because it turns out socialists suck with money, and now they have a massive cost overrun, and they don't have the government tax revenues they assumed they were going to have, and now they're running a $10 billion deficit, rounding up. That's insane considering the federal government is in trouble for running a $62 billion deficit and $9 billion is coming from BC alone, from their own coffers. Even though they don't have to pay for the military or anything like that, they've somehow found a way to waste even more money. By the way, the cost overruns are so bad, there's a water treatment plant on the North Shore that was budgeted at being $700 million to get online. They are currently running past $4.7 billion to get this thing online, and it's not done yet. Probably going to be more like $6 billion by the time it's built. These people are just thieves at this point. And now that we actually have some real smoke to investigate with the election, we got to go on vacation, guys. We don't have any time for any of this stuff. Before I end this off, I actually just want to talk about this one thing because I don't really have anywhere else to stick this in at the moment. It is nuts how little the BC government works. They spend oodles of money. They spend more money than the taxpayers are giving them per year. They have massive deficits, and they're not working. This is a great video that the BC Conservative Caucus uploaded just going over how little these people actually do on a day-to-day basis since they've gotten into government. They've been in government for 3 months now, a little bit over 3 months, and they haven't done anything.
It's been 3 months since the election, and we've hardly heard anything from EB's NDP. So where have they been? What have they been doing? And have they actually done any work at all? Well, the NDP's bloated cabinet is legally required to disclose their schedule, and what they filed is absolutely disgraceful. With our province facing an immediate generational threat, Minister of Energy Adrian Dix has clocked in a grand total of 6 days of work. Minister for Mining and Critical Minerals, Jagrup Brar, has worked a total of 2 days. Parliamentary Secretary for Anti-Racism, Jesse Sunner, has also worked only 2 days.
By the way, a self-professed, basically a fascist, somebody who literally puts trade unionist in their bio. Trade unionist does not mean I heart unions. Trade unionist means that I believe that unions in the government should own the economy, should run the economy, which is what the fascist government in Italy was based around, was the idea that trade unions and the government should own all means of production.
Minister Terry Young has attended one event, went to a luncheon, and has had 2 phone calls. Minister Mike Farnworth has gone to 1 event and 1 lunch. That's it. But somehow it gets even more ridiculous. These BC NDP MLAs have done literally nothing since their calendars began, and with these MLAs completely refusing to file their schedule, we can only assume they've been vacationing in the Bahamas. It must be nice for EB's MLAs to get a $2 million pay increase, cancel the fall sitting, and then take a vacation for an entire month.
Well, I'm not going to play the rest of this, but this is just like this is parody levels. This is as if we are writing a sitcom about British Columbia and we're really jacking up the incompetence of lefty granola politicians. This is what we would put in. Oh, they don't work. They give themselves pay raises, budget overruns, and they're on a beach in Hawaii. This is what we would write if we were trying to make jokes about how incompetent BC government is. Anyways. That's it for me today, guys. There's going to be a lot of media coming out about the Surrey Guilford thing in the next few days. I heard that Randhawa might be doing an interview with Drea Humphrey at Rebel News. That would be good to check out once it comes out if you're not subscribed to them. But remember to subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave a comment, all that great stuff, and I'll see you guys later.